Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another session of Straight Talk Live with me, Noel Lee. Thank you very much for joining me this evening, and I hope you are doing well. Tonight, I am very honored to be having a guest with me to talk about military national service life that we had before. He is the co-founder. Sorry, wrong. He is a co-founder for the, of course, China YouTube channel, and he is the founder, creative director, and the editor in chief of the media and marketing company called Here. And I'd like to welcome Mr. Ziv Glikman to the show.
Hi,
Hey,
Noel.
Ziv.
Hey,
How are you doing there?
thank you for that kind introduction. Yeah, doing good. It's thanks for inviting me. When we spoke about it, I was like, yeah, this is a good idea. I never thought about talking about my days in the military, but it makes total sense.
Right. I just was looking at your video on the Airsoft game that you're playing in Dongguan, and it just hit me, right? Because you and I both have uh, entered mandatory national service, and I thought that this would be something interesting for us to share and have a straight talk about it for the audience, and like basically share our experiences while we were in national service. And of course, for you in particular, you actually saw actual combat, isn't it?
Yeah, I did see some combat. I served in different parts of Israel in the West Bank. I was not in Gaza, but I was in the West Bank in some Palestinian cities and Lebanon. So yeah, I've seen some combats, and we can definitely talk about this.
Right. Before we get into that, let's say hello to some of our audience that have joined us on this stream tonight. It's hello to Eric Ho, hello to Jay in Oz, Link, Jay in SA. Welcome to the stream, guys. Xavier, Fazil, Hashim. I hope I got that name right. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for joining our stream, as well as MP. Right. Thank you so much. So the moderators can help to keep the chat live and lively. So Ziv, all right, let's get into the gist of it. Right, we are both men in our 40s now, right? And during our early teens or late teens, early 20s, I guess for me, I was actually doing my NS before 21 years old. I was there like 18 years old. What age were you when you entered national service?
So in Israel, we supposed to enter the military for 3 years when we finish high school. Some people have a few more months. I entered when I was almost 19, and I left when I was almost 22. So yeah, I served for 3 years from 1999 to 2002. How about you? What year did you serve?
I was enlisted in 97, 98, sorry, 98. Yeah, 97. And then I finished my service just before the year 2000. So,
okay. So you did
yeah.
2 years.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and the interesting part is in Israel, everybody do it. Women too. So girls go in for 2 years, while men go for 3 years.
Okay. And which vocation were you actually in while you were in army?
So I was airborne. I was a paratrooper brigade, and I was when I okay. So when I before we go to the army during the last couple of years of high school, we get all these tests, trials to units that we may want to go to. And as many, not everybody, but like many other guys, teenagers, I was very poised. I thought I'm going for 3 years anyway. I better just try my best to do the best I can, get the most out of it, try to go to the best units. We have very good units in the Israeli army, as you probably know. And I did try different units, the same units that Netanyahu was in. It's called the unit. That's actually the slang for that. The Navy SEALs, different ones. But in the end, I didn't really pass all of those. I tried many of them, and in the end, I went to the paratrooper brigade, which also you need to volunteer too. So those units you need to volunteer to, and I just wanted to do my best. And my grandfather was a high rank general. So my grandfather that survived the Holocaust, he went to Israel, and he was serving in the 50s and 60s together with all the big names that you may know, Sharon and Rabin, all those famous figures. And growing up, we were raised with those values to do our best to protect our country.
Right. Well, we got a picture here that you shared with us. This one over here.
That's a good one.
Is that how was this picture taken?
That's a good story, actually. It's good that you're asking. So I think this is the first time I did a parachuting, and it's the first time you do it after 3 weeks of training. And even though you're not allowed, of course, we want to take a picture, right? So those were film cameras, right, back then. And I put a film camera in my chest inside my shirt.
And it's a selfie.
So when I jumped, it's selfie, but not with a phone, right? With a little, old film camera. And I just took it out and I took a picture quickly, and that's this picture. So I kind of make a funny face, but that's what happened.
Okay.
So that was the first time I jumped. I did 8 times.
So did you have any fear of jumping, or was it natural for you?
I think that the fear was, it's always we are always scared to break a leg, probably. And it's very exciting, obviously, to jump from an airplane, right, in the air. But I was just scared enough to be excited. I wasn't scared to jump. Some guys are holding the door and don't want to jump.
Right.
But it was fun. But after 2, 3, 4, 5 times, you kind of don't really want to do it anymore, because you just don't want to get hurt. It stopped being exciting. Did you do anything like that? No, you didn't do that.
No, unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to try airborne. I was in the armor, and this is one example of myself when I was in one of the courses. And in the background, you see that armored personnel carrier. So that's actually the vocation I was in, an armored infantry officer. Yeah.
Oh, that's the thing that's the tank.
Well, that is actually an armored personnel carrier. So it's not a tank. It carries a section of 7 men, and there is a vehicle commander and a driver. So I was basically training to command a platoon of 3 of these APCs. Yeah.
Actually, I drove this kind of vehicles in the army. One of my training was to drive that vehicle, and I was doing it in a later period in my serving time. Do it with the chief of our brigade. So there was a small entourage, and I was the driver. Yeah. But how was your experience when you went into the army, to the military?
I think we talked about this off stage, and then we're going to talk about it today. We mentioned that national service is something that not all people are excited to do, right? Some people would prefer not to do it, so we thought that it was, we shared similar attitude towards it, meaning that it was something that we thought was character building, isn't it? So would you like to share more about your experience on that one?
I also want to mention that, people are watching from probably around the world. Most countries in the world don't have a military that is mandatory, right? Like the US. So it's a job. And when we go into the military for 3 years, my salary was $200 a month.
Yes. Similar.
yeah, so it's kind of like, well, basically it was good enough for cigarettes.
Exactly. Yes.
and that's what it is. But we're talking about the motivation, right? Or
Yeah.
character
Exactly.
building, right?
Yeah.
So I think that you don't know it at the time. Like when you go in, you're 18 or 19, you're not really aware of that. You're just excited doing new things and learning a lot of new things, and um, you're trying to endure the difficulty. I mean, it's difficult. I had multiple consecutive nights. You sleep 2 hours a night. um, you train with live bullets, and you are only 19 years old, right? And you walk, you have runs and walks of many miles, my end of training journey was 90 kilometers straight, walking to Jerusalem. So all of these things, you don't know it at the time, but years later you really realize how you are a stronger person, mostly not even physically but mostly mentally, because of those things. And I think the army is built on psychology. Like, we walk 90 miles. Why do we walk 90 miles? It's not good for your health, but it's, if you did that when there is a war and you need to walk 30 miles, oh, you already did 90, so you know you can do it. So it's a lot of psychology, and the whole point is to build your character to be ready.
Yeah, I agree. Because before entering national service, I had no idea what 10 kilometers was. So when we did that 10 kilometers run, I was like, what is this? It's so long. But now I've been, after that, I was running marathons, 42 kilometers. So what's 10
Right.
kilometers, right? So yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, again, from my experiences in Singapore, when we have, your peers basically, and we get to know that, not everybody wants to do this. In fact, many people would rather not. They would seek deferments and stuff like that. And some people would find it a culture shock to go in, have your head shaven off, listening to instructions. Things were not like that before. I mean, most of us would be like coming from homes where you have your mates that makes your bed and stuff like that, carry your bag. So yeah, it's definitely different. And for me, I didn't have those luxury that I just mentioned, having a servant in the house. So everything was done by myself. And then I found that transition towards the army rather seamless. And I'm not actually a very uh, like physically strong person before going to the army. In fact, I did not actually pass. Rather, I passed, but I didn't get the gold standard for the physical fitness test. It was only when I was in the army that I actually trained and I actually
Got
got
stronger.
gold. Exactly. Yeah. How about you
I
yourself?
think, I think another thing about character building. I think that you realize how much teamwork is important in the army, and you are with other 10, 12 guys, eating with them, shitting with them, smoking with them, waking up with them, showering with them, everything. And this is something that, how they say, I don't know how it is for you, but my military friends, I'm still in touch with them, and we still have, it's 20 years later, we still have a WhatsApp group. And
Okay.
even though for a few
Same
years
for me.
we kind of lost touch because of technology, but now with everything is easy, so we kind of back in touch, and we meet each other sometimes. If I go back to Israel, I'm like the odd one that is in China. um, but one thing about the military that was a shock for me, that I realized about myself, is that I got a lot of punishments for my officers,
Mm.
because the military is a dictatorship, very strong dictatorship. Like, they tell you what to do and you cannot ask questions. You just have to do it. And I had
True.
a hard time with that. I had to always question things, and officers hate questions.
Well, we never, put down any questions. Any question is good. I mean, from my background, from where I came from, questions was I mean, it's not the kind of questions that you're trying to question authority, but maybe just trying to maybe give more opinions on how things could be done better.
So yeah,
That's what's for me. Yeah.
there is no opinion when you get into the
Oh.
army. Maybe when you're becoming more, one of the veterans, after a couple of years. But in the beginning, there is no way to give opinion. You pretty much get down, give me 10 push-ups and stuff like that. But as far
but
as
it cannot be for no reason, right? Because in that situation is ill treatment. If it's in Singapore, you just can't get somebody to do a push-up for no reason.
I think you guys are too soft.
Oh wow.
I think
All right.
in the first year it's very tough. It's some things are with no reasons. I think there is a big reason. The big reason is to just make you tough, but yeah, it's a little bit like those movies, of young soldiers just doing tough things because of getting tougher.
Okay.
Yeah. And as far of the physically, yeah, I was pretty good when I was in the army. Actually, it gives me some issues today because I always think I'm still that guy, but I'm not.
Yeah, you are pretty slim Jim, right? Back in the day.
Yeah, I was I was pretty good. I was a good runner and everything, but those days are pretty much over.
Care to tell us who is this lady in this picture?
This is interesting. This is actually a good one because this one, she was in school with me since first grade, and then she served in the base where we do the training for parachuting. She was a parachute folder. That was her job.
Okay.
Yes, and there is a unit of girls. There are parachute folders. Very important job. Very important job. You got to do it the right way, obviously.
Exactly.
Someone's going to suffer.
Okay. And there is another picture that you shared with us, another lady here.
So that's my little sister.
Ah, wow.
So I was in the army. She's 10 years younger than me.
Okay.
Yes.
So what was the significance of this photo?
I think I was in a base in the north of Israel. And maybe I stayed for 2 or 3 weeks for a long time before so my family maybe on a weekend, on a Saturday, came to visit me for a few hours. You could do that because sometimes we don't go home for a few weeks.
Right.
How is it for you because Singapore is small?
Yeah. No,
did you go home every week or?
We go home on the weekends. That's correct. Yeah, they call it booking out, and then you go back, and then you book back in. So I think it's on a Saturday afternoon you book out, and then you can spend one evening at home, and then you book back in on Sunday night. So and then we start the whole thing. Yeah, every week. That's right. Unless of course we're out field training, and then it might spill over to the weekends. Yeah.
So yeah, it's more relaxed than Israel, I think, than our military.
Which actually comes to my next point. When we talk about how combat ready are we, we're training obviously for combat, and you yourself again. I need to get your, just tell us how it was it that you actually saw real action. Was it in this picture here in Lebanon you mentioned? Is it correct?
This picture is this picture we were holding a line for 4 months, I think, on the border between Israel and Lebanon, and for a few months we were doing 6 hours guarding, 6 hours sleeping, 6 hour guarding, 6 hours sleeping for a few months, and it's very tough. And this was not doing any combat, but we were just guarding in watchtowers, basically. Okay. We had a few operations. So for example, I give you one story. Is I think it was 2000, and there were some tensions with it still was Arafat back then. You remember him?
Yeah.
Palestinians, and we were serving in the West Bank, my brigade, and they told us we need to go and take over the city of Hebron. So take over a city. And I remember that day. I remember calling my parents and telling them that I love them, and telling them that I cannot tell them what we're doing, but we're doing something tonight, and they can read about it in the newspaper tomorrow. And that was, scary. Yeah, we went in with one of those, a lot of those armors, like the one in your picture.
Yeah.
And it's a city, so it's like condensed, right? It's very populated, so it's a small street, and there were a lot of gunfighting and grenades and stuff like that. And then we basically identify houses and take over the houses. I mean, there is a whole context here, right? So I don't want, people may think, oh my God, the Israeli army is terrible,
Right.
if they hear me right now. And there is a whole context here that I'm not getting into. So don't forget that. But basically, how it goes is we identify a house, and we come to the house, and we want to take over the house. And the Palestinian family living in the house. And Palestinian families live in houses very similar to Chinese families. It's like those 3-4 floors houses, and the whole family live there. Like the parents in one floor, and then one son with his family in another floor, and another son with his family in the third floor, and very respectfully, they cooperate, and it's very surreal, really, this kind of situation. They were telling me, I remember that, at least that particular one, that that basically there are terrorist organizations coming to their house, shooting at Israeli territory, and then go away. So, and when then the Israelis come, identify this house. It's very messy, right? So, and I remember staying in that house for many days without taking your shoes off, without showering, probably a couple of weeks. So there is tension in the air. There is gunfights. But I mean, we are not like, it's not like you're scared constantly, because you are in the situation. You're just doing it.
Right.
Yeah. So these kind of things I remember, and I remember going into another city, Ramallah, and also another operation, and going in at night and putting putting bombs in different places that we needed to make explosions. Yeah. So there was things. I remember in training. That's not fighting, but a guy was too close to a grenade that was thrown in training, and he lost his arm, and a helicopter and everything. And we were still young in the army. That was like, so things like this you remember, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's in Israel. That's a situation. You have, it's basically constantly at war in certain places, but like where my parents live, close to Tel Aviv, it's normal. So it's a very complex country to understand for the audience that trying to understand and never been there. It's difficult to understand.
Right. Yes. So, I mean, your encounter with real action, how would you, in a nutshell, what was it for you?
The feeling?
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned that you mentioned that you were doing it as you were doing it. It seems like normal, right? Maybe because you were well trained. They trained you well, and you were doing the steps as per the drills, right?
I would say it's not fun. It's not.
No, it's not fun. I was in the army, and I mean, we're jumping a little bit here because we talked about how people would have not served in the army are very interested in those kind of war games, right? Putting on the army gear, the everything, right? But they don't have that that heavy backpack that we were actually carrying. They only have that little airsoft gun. They are all dressed up very suave.
It's
the
not difficult.
sunglasses.
Yeah.
It's not like that, isn't it?
Yes, it's not. I mean, it's very difficult, right? And even when I jumped from the airplanes, I had my equipment another 20 kilos on me.
Yeah.
So it's not the same thing, and it's like the title of this talk. What is it? Fun or fatal?
Fun or fatal. Yeah.
And I can definitely say it's not fun. Some of the training may be fun. Yes, but the actual action is not fun. Exciting.
Such as what is fun for you?
Exciting and adrenaline rush. Sure, you may get that, of course, but it's not fun. What is fun for me? You mean in the army?
Yeah, you mentioned some things are fun. So what are some things that you consider fun?
I think that in the beginning, when you train and you do military exercise, and you have a big ass exercise that is like the whole brigade together, and it's including jumping, being airborne into a place like and near the beach, and then you walk the whole night, and so it's like it's not real, and it's fun in the beginning. It's tough, but it's fun. In the the longer you go through the service, in the getting closer to the end, you get more and more scared because of kind of like a Murphy's law, like you're just about to finish and you're gonna get shot or you die. We have a joke. The vest, the bulletproof vest that we use. In the last 3 months, we put 2 on us, double, because it's like this kind of like superstition, that the closer you are to the end, something may happen. But fun. The jumping from the airplanes was some of it was fun for sure. I mean, it's an experience that it's great that I had. Shooting a gun in a controlled conditions. I was a good shooter, and I got even some prizes for it. But very controlled, not in fighting, just like almost like the Olympic sport shooting, right?
Right.
That was kind of fun. But what was fun for you?
Actually, I don't consider the experience fun.
Nothing?
I consider it as memorable because there were obviously experiences that I couldn't have gotten anywhere else. When the uniform was wet, when you are hot, when you are tired, I don't consider this fun, but it's it's an experience because, like I said again, when the people are playing the war games, they're all dressed up in the camouflage and stuff like that. They are not experiencing that utter, drench in your sweat, and you're out there for a long time, and you are like walking in vegetation, or they're just there, and then they're just playing it for like an hour, 2 hours. That's it, right? So it's very different. And then you're carrying your equipment, right? Sometimes you carry more than just a weapon, and it's a lot of stuff. You're in the environment. You're also tackling what's surrounding you, and if you have mud, mud on the boots, and the boots is completely wet. It's not waterproof, by the way, right? And the socks is wet, and everything is wet.
And you have blisters, and you have chafing, and you have all these things.
It is.
I
don't see the fun in it.
That's not fun, but I mean, in the beginning, it's maybe exciting in the beginning, but then it's the more you go, it gets less and less, right? It gets more like annoyance. But another one thing that maybe you can consider as fun is the camaraderie.
Correct. That's one thing for sure. Being with my, whether it's the section mate, platoon mates, that bond that we have while we're doing all these unfun things was what really is the lasting memories. I remember one very a nice. I mean, this is a nice memory for me. I was actually digging a fire trench. You know a fire trench, right?
Yep.
So it's not easy to dig a fire trench because it's like for two people, and me and my buddy was digging this fire trench, and then we were unable to get further down because what happened was that there's a huge rock that was in the way of our position, and when we finally got that rock out, we were so relieved. It was like a high-five moment. So these are the kind of stuff that I guess would be fun because we were going through obstacles and overcoming it.
Accomplishment is
exactly
fun. Yes,
exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, there is a bit of swag feeling, like when we go home with our gun, and I was in the paratrooper brigade. I have the red hat.
Yeah.
I have my wings that we are very proud of.
There we go.
These wings we get after 5 times.
Okay.
And not many soldiers have it. So when we go home, it's on our uniform. And these wings were, I think, my grandfather that I used the same one.
Oh.
And
okay.
So there is a bit of like you going home on a Friday evening. You're taking the bus to go home, and you have your gun and you have your uniform, and we have red hats and red shoes. We're kind of different.
Wait a minute, you take your gun home?
Yeah, of course. You're with your gun the whole time. You take it home.
Okay, so that's something that's very different in Singapore. You don't take your gun home. You return it to the armory.
We talked about it before, right? They teach us that our gun is our wife.
Okay.
And
now I know the real term because you take it home.
You take it. This is your gun. This is your personal gun. And you take it home. And when you get home, you need to separate the bullet. I had a little sister at home.
Oh.
You
bring live rounds home?
Sure.
Wow. Okay, that's something I didn't know.
So in Israel, if you walk in Tel Aviv, you would see. You just take a 10 minutes walk. You would see soldiers with their guns, just going home. Maybe they stop and have lunch, whatever,
Right.
And even women with guns, like soldiers.
Wow.
And so in the army, we sleep with our M16 under the pillow.
Wow.
Like right there when we are in the army. At home, you can just separate the bullets and put it in 2 different places, locked behind locked door, and it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's different, right? Yeah. So it's quite serious, right?
Yeah, it is. It is very serious. Now that I heard you saying this, it's a stark contrast from what we have in Singapore, because nobody brings the guns home. That's for sure. Right, and the safety factor is of paramount importance. Yeah, every time the arms is drawn, even though we know that there is no weapon, there's no round inside, we got to do a check clear drill.
But I remember having dreams about losing my gun, or someone take my gun from me, or forgetting it on the bus. It's a nightmare because they really put in your head you cannot lose your gun. This is basically 7 years in jail. They say 7 years in jail, and so you become very attached to it. So see how much responsibility it teaches you, a 19-year-old person. So I always say, if you meet a 19-year-old American going to college, the difference will be unbelievable. I think mostly.
Or 19-year-old anybody. It could be anybody, even a Chinese person, a Japanese person.
Right? I guess it could be anybody, right? So I mean, in that sense, it matures us very quickly. But interesting. Even though we take the guns home, there are no many gun crimes in Israel.
Okay.
There are not many gun crimes. I think people learn the significance of guns, what guns mean. We don't take it lightly.
Not at all. Which I guess brings us to another point. I guess over here, because our experience is that we don't want war, we don't want fighting, we don't want to be in that situation, right? And yet we see mainstream movies serving us time after time, because there is a demand, obviously, for movies. I mean, if it's different if it's a movie that depicts a previous war that they're trying to, recount, right? That's
Sure.
different, right? That's different. But we're talking about movies where, you have like
Violence.
mercenaries and like the Rambo style, right? So, I mean, you were even telling me last night that, what would the young people see? But like I told you before, I was also a young guy when I watched Rambo, and it didn't make me want to pick up a gun and shoot people, right?
But when you watch,
it did make me want to buy a gun to play around. You know what I'm saying? And yet we know that the ultimate end game is that if you do actually shoot people with real guns, there's going to be people dying. And then all these movies, you have the hero, just gunning down people like nobody's business. So I mean, what's
Yes.
your? I mean, it's just a discussion, right? I'm sure
I
people
think-
say no. You're the movies are obviously fictional. You have fictional stuff like ghosts and all these things, zombies. So it'll be no different. But I don't think it's different. I think there is the difference, because unlike zombies and ghosts that is supernatural, guns is a real thing.
I think you kind of said it yourself. I think it's we like action, right? People like watching action. They like to get excited. You don't get to do it yourself, but you can watch the screen and it still gets you excited, and you're waiting for the surprise. And I don't think there is anything wrong with that, but I think it's all about the education, right? You didn't feel like you need to pick up a gun and shoot someone because you probably had good education and good people around you, right? So maybe the wrong environments, if people may be influenced in a wrong way uh, by watching those film and too much violence on the movies. But why I enjoy watching action movies, but it's not like
Me
my
too.
it's not like my top favorite genre. But I think anyone enjoys, right, watching action movies.
Yes, like I said, I enjoy it. Like I said, the only reason why it suddenly hit me was I was watching one of those action movies just recently, and it just hit me, right, that the hero is just gunning down everybody, and these people, they are people as well, right? I mean, without even declaring if it's the. I mean, obviously, in the movie sense, the people against the hero is the bad guy, right? But I'm just trying to like think deeper, you know. It's like just so simple, just gunning down people. That's sort of the rhetoric. I don't know.
You see, someone is asking something interesting here.
Is that right?
Bob,
Okay. Which one?
do
This
you
one?
see? Yes.
Okay.
Question: how are PTSD or mental issues addressed by the military? That's a very good question.
Okay.
I think this is it's a major issue for the American Army, because they have been. We're not going to get into right-wrong wars, but
Right.
they've been fighting, and the Israeli army too, because we had many wars, and we always have some kind of fighting. So I think that I believe it's not addressed well enough anywhere. you know, maybe only in the last few years or the last decade or two, I think people are starting to take this really seriously, understanding this is it's a huge, serious situation. Having PTSD, I had a neighbor in my building that was used to wake up at night and scream like almost every night, and I don't know how the military is dealing with it now. I want to assume it's improving. I think in some situation, people get medical marijuana for that in Israel. Do you know anything about it, Noel?
I'm not sure about that one. there's a comment here from Eric that we need to undergo checkups and tests. I don't recall me going for tests. I guess I did. I don't know. Yeah, definitely medical checkups, but not sure about the
Definitely
tests.
a lot of
Maybe.
checkups we have.
Yeah.
We have a lot of checkups. Yeah.
Right. You also shared with me something else that maybe I just play for everybody. You can describe about what this particular clip is about. Right. So what was that about, Ziff?
First of all, it's funny to see how young I was.
We were all young.
Yes, it's like kids, right? I mean, really.
Yeah.
So this is, as you see, I have a big thing on my back. That's the parachute.
Yes.
And this is after we landed. We pick it up and we start walking to some kind of meeting point.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were asking how we feel, and I said, I guess I try to be the man, and I say, I wasn't scared at all. And I said, because this is, military parachuting is not like parachuting for fun. We cannot control the parachute. We cannot control it. It's the round one, and it opens automatically after 3 seconds.
Right.
So you jump from the airplane and you count 21, 22, 23, and then you open the modular connection that you have with your gun and maybe your water, and you have a lot of. I jumped with an RPG. So, and then when we fall down, we fall strong. We land strong. So
hit the ground hard,
because you cannot just walk like those skydiving, right?
Okay.
So what I said in this clip is that in the end we just fall down, and if we did it 2 weeks ago, we would, before all the training, it would still be the same. That's what I said. But basically the whole training of that is how to fall, how to
right.
Yeah.
Same
So,
thing
that
for us
was-
where we did the vehicle overturn drill. In case the armored vehicle overturns, we gotta get in some position to, it's just a drill, something that you do instinctively the moment it happens. That's why it's a drill. Yeah.
Right. Basically, if you do parachuting, the one most important rule is when you land, make sure your legs are together.
Right.
And
there's one
open.
thing that I wanted to point out. I pointed out to you and like to share to the audience here is that, when we are firing off real life ammos, we actually need earplugs. Unlike what you see in the movies where, you just fire off without anything and then you can still hear each other and you can still, talk to each other. That is not correct, because a live round is there's this, the noise
and then I told you
emitted
that
Yeah.
I don't remember that too much, right?
Right.
I think we had the earplugs, but I don't think we always used it. I don't have a memory of always using it. And yeah, it's noisy. Of course it's noisy. And today I told you that I was thinking about it, and maybe my hearing problem, which I have, because I got sudden deafness in
Right.
my right ear a few years ago, and maybe the cause started back in the army. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's very noisy. It's very noisy, and sometimes your body's bullets flying over to you, and it's hot too on your
Okay.
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, there is a lot of that. Yeah.
Right. And notice in your video when you were playing the war game, obviously, because there is no training prior to the people that were playing the game, there was no coordination.
Right. I
And
was trying.
yeah, you were trying. So I mean, this is something that I guess is proof that things are not as simple as they seem in the movies. You don't just go out there and start to bark instructions and people know exactly what you're saying, because when you're out in the field, nobody can hear you, isn't it? Nobody
Yeah.
can hear you, right? And you can't be all like together. You got to be spread out, isn't it? So when I saw your little game that you're having, everybody was kind of close together, and hence you got people shooting you, your own teammates shooting you. So in the army, we call it fratricide, where you actually kill your own people, because you are either too close or you're mostly because you're too close, right?
Or sometimes the group goes here and they go like this and they think it's the enemy.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
it's
Exactly.
and that happens, and that's terrible.
Yeah.
And we do a lot for this not to happen, a lot of training, but that unfortunately happens, and you can see it even when you can see the game that we did with the water bullets. But you could see I was trying to organize them, but I mean, in the end of the day, they just there is no consequences, right? Like
exactly, it's for fun. It's for fun.
Yeah,
but when once
they were holding in behind cover behind some
oil barrels. Was it oil barrels?
and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and they were just staying there and shooting, and it's like nothing's gonna happen, guys. You gotta do something. You gotta move. You gotta
fire and movement.
Yeah, but honestly, you don't need to be in the army to know that. You're watching action movies, right? I mean,
yeah.
So you had some training like that, right?
But actually, it is not as straightforward when they say cover me and you move forward, because the guy got to make sure he's covering you instead of shooting you, isn't it? Because you're moving forward, he's firing, isn't it? So there's gonna be at least also some know-how versus you don't just do it like that. Like I said, so guns and stuff and all these things is just not fun in that sense.
Right. Someone's asking war games, what is this all about? Maybe be more clear. I mean, this is just like paintball.
Right.
Paintball guns and a bunch of guys, two teams, and you kind of it's like a simulator, like laser tags, right?
Right.
Yeah. Is it big in the Singapore? It's big.
Well, we did have some paintball places that I knew before I left Singapore for Hong Kong and China. And way back when I was a teenager, before the army, we were playing Laser Quest, which is not pellets. It's just like a beam that you shoot, and once it hits the target, then it lights up. So that's
right.
a safer way, but the concept is still the same. You're trying to shoot people. You're trying to shoot people and score points.
Now, I think that the main point we're trying to say here is that for me at least, and I think for you the same, serving in the army kind of made me realize guns are really bad.
Exactly.
And when I see other guys, they're still excited about guns. I think some people visit in Cambodia, you can shoot all these crazy automatic guns. Or some Asian countries, you can pay some money and shoot that, and people are really excited. And you know what? Maybe if I wasn't in the army, I was like that too. I'm not sure, but it's out of my system because I did it. And I also know how severe. I mean, the consequences of guns. I mean, it's very, very, very serious. And I wish we didn't need to fight, but the Israeli army is called the Israeli Defense Forces, right?
Yes.
So we are supposedly just there for defense, not to start a war, to defend. And you can probably argue for hours, for and against this, if this is true or not. But I do wish we didn't have to have an army. We are a small country, with enemies all around us, and we have a thing in Israel when I was little. my mom or my grandma, when someone's little, they would say, "Oh, and when you get to be 18, by then we wouldn't need to have mandatory service. We wouldn't need an army." And it's never true, right? It's always like we still need everybody to go to the army. But also you mentioned that some people don't want to go.
Yeah.
And in Israel, there are some people, but there are consequences for not going to the army.
Right. Same in
There's
Singapore. Yeah.
some scrutiny. First of all, there could be shame in some points in life later. There could be some jobs that are harder to get.
Wow.
So
Is that right?
Yeah, there could be. Yeah, stuff like that. It depends why you didn't go, right? Basically, you cannot not go. You need to find some good excuse. And in the army, we have a slang word for the psychiatrist of the army.
Mm.
We call it the magician. People pretend to be crazy.
Okay.
And then they give them a waiver.
Oh.
Yeah. But that's like a stain for life.
Because you admitted that you're crazy, isn't it?
Even
And
if
it's in your
it's kind of,
records.
even if it's clear that you're not, you did something, you avoided something that everybody else have to do, you should be ashamed. You know what I mean? Something like that.
I see.
Yeah. What's the percent in Singapore of people trying to avoid?
I don't have a handle on the percentage, but I would maybe, just based on my own opinion, I would say about 30%. Tell me in the comments, guys, if I'm correct. I'm sure there's a lot of Singaporeans who are watching right now. Let me know what you guys think, right? For those who have a number, how many Singaporeans do you think would not want to go to the army?
How about people staying in the army after the mandatory service is done?
Yeah, there are definitely some. But it's again a small handful. A small handful.
Is it a good career?
Well, you see, when I was there, I was also kind of thinking about staying on, thinking about it, because you see, for 2 years, you see the organization, right? You see that that's what you have to do, and that's how you can progress. And you got basically 2 years to decide for yourself if you want to stay on after the mandatory service, right?
Right.
And then for me, I realized that there are certain aspects of it that I wouldn't want to be, that doesn't fit my personality, my character type. So that's why I didn't, finally join.
Very
So,
similar
yeah.
to me. I think I thought that I may stay before I joined the army. I thought I may go for a career like my grandfather did.
Mm-hmm.
And after a couple of years, I realized, no, this is not for me. Let me finish my 3 years and be out of here.
Do you know any of your friends who actually stayed on in the forces?
Some people stayed on for quite a few more years. Some people went to study on the expense of the army and came back. When the army may send you to study something, and then
Right.
the army needs lawyers, they need doctors, of course, they need all of that, right? So you could staying in the army for 5 to 10 years could be a good choice. Yeah.
Right. Another thing in Singapore that we sort of got to know from other people's experience is that, once you are done with the army, you basically can't do anything else in the private sector once you comes out, because you have no experience with what's going on. That's what they are saying.
It depends how long you're staying. First of all, if you're staying for very long and you get to be very high ranked.
Oh, that's different. Then you probably wouldn't consider anything else, right?
No. You leave when you're 45, 50, and you right away go to be a chairman of a big company.
Oh.
Because because you have leadership skills.
That's right.
You have very strong leadership skills. But you may not need even to have something serious because the army pension is great. So army could be a good career for those that some people feel like this is very comfortable for them, this is suitable for
Right.
their personality, and they it's good for them that they stay, but it wasn't for me, and obviously not for you too.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a career choice, definitely, and you have the various different arms, right? You have the Navy, the Army itself. You have the Air Force. So you can, I mean, the spectrum is abundant for you to fit what your talents are. So I think it's definitely a good career choice, as long as you don't actually go into real battle, right?
Right. This Steven is asking, I said it before, but
Oh,
Steven maybe is asking, how
Steven?
was the pay scale? The pay scale, as I said before, was about $200 per month for those that do combat.
Right.
For those that just do office job, is like $100 per month, which is funny because they actually go home every day. They actually need the money more. But how was your pay scale in the Singaporean army?
Let's see. When you're talking about the military service, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they pay officers a little bit more than they pay specialist soldiers. So I think I was getting about like I believe it's around $500 a month. I
So
think
more than
Yeah.
double than me.
Yeah, and then the specialists are actually getting less than $500 a month. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see some people that don't like this subject. I see in the
is that right? What are they saying? Let's look at some of the comments there.
couple of people.
Yeah. What are they saying?
Yeah, $200 a month, Steven. This is very little. Like I said before, good enough for cigarettes, and that's it.
What other comments do you see that
I
you
think
mentioned people are
I
not
think
liking?
it was Jay. Who is Jay?
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. I think he has left the chat because it's busy. No problem, Jay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that if people don't like the topic because we're talking about the military and something that is violent, I mean, I think we're just sharing our experience.
Exactly.
But our nuance is really that I think we are both very peace-loving people,
Yeah.
And the army actually made me very left-wing, and a lot of soldiers get very right-wing in the army.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know, it left me more like just understanding that conflict doesn't lead to anywhere. You should always go in diplomatic directions with every conflict.
Right.
So I think we're talking about the military, but not from like, oh yeah, you know what I mean.
Exactly. Well, we're talking basically about what we have experienced, and contrary to maybe popular beliefs of how glamorous, well, it could be glamorous, but when you are doing the dirt, when you are there, it's not exactly what you want to be. Again, it's different. If you're high ranking, it's different. It's a different thing, right? But everybody starts from a soldier, a private, right, a recruit, and that's
like,
where,
I mean, did you see that Osama bin Laden operation, right? You probably watched the documentary a few years ago, right? How they did it. I mean,
I heard about it. I didn't really watch it. Yeah, I heard about it.
In terms of military operation, and like, it's like watching an action movie, right? Some things can be, those people in those units, I think, I have a feeling that they kind of like it.
Yeah, that's what I feel as well when I see some of the documentaries about the veterans and all these things as they talk about it. Then I think it fits the personality type to do this kind of thing.
Yeah, they're
You know what I'm
just very
saying?
good. If to be very good at something, you gotta like it, no?
Yeah, you gotta like it. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And people want to
Yeah.
be SEALs, right? Navy SEAls. They want to go to be a Navy SEAL. They want to be a Ranger, right? The Ranger
I
course is a
wasn't.
very tough
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
And I told in the beginning, I was trying for all these units and I was not accepted. And they they had the right decision not to accept me because
Oh yeah,
I'm obviously not that guy,
not tough enough. Not tough enough.
It's not they need to know how to be cruel. They need to know how to be
Yeah.
super detached. So many. The mental needs to be a certain way. Yeah.
But I guess in Singapore, which is more like a peace, right? When peace times, so our personnel in the army, in the armed forces, are not exactly of the type where the kill mentality. I doubt so.
Right.
Most of the people, the commanders I've interacted with, they're all very, again, peace-loving people of discipline, team leaders, mentors, trying to do the best that they can and impart the skills to the next younger, generation.
It sounds like more professional.
Yes, a professional thing. Yes.
And I think in Israel, there are people from all walks of life, and some people are like, I can say some people in the army are like, let's fight, let's kill Arabs, and some people are the opposite. And it's interesting how in the end we all melting into one pot together. But it's good also because you can balance different opinions.
And I think the crux of it is the forces that actually really see combat, they get deployed and they really see combat versus those like us who are training for peacetime, right? There's a real stark difference there, which is why I talked to you about the confidence level. If back then if I was rolling back the years when I was 19, when I was doing the national service, and if we were actually called up to action, how confident was I gonna be in the field? And I don't think I'll be that confident.
Yeah, the confident or not, you would just
I won't
have
be
to
that
do
confident. Yeah, I won't be that confident actually.
Yeah, but
because
it doesn't matter in the end, because confident or not, you would have to do it, and then you'll do it again and again and again. You'll get more confident.
Well, if you survive to do it again and again, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about real bullets, right? Real bullets, and we talk about all the chances of actually self-destruction because of your own like malfunction, like accidents and all these things.
Yes.
We have real accidents even in training, right?
Yes.
That results in casualties, fatalities.
Yes.
Right. So it's no joke. And at the end of the day, it's a profession that is really is no joke.
Army is a dangerous place. Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
But if it's peacetime and you are able to do your job well, then there's a good career prospect ahead. That's what we see.
Right. I'm just looking at the comments here.
Right. So, is there anything else from here? Was this girls should serve NS? NS doesn't mean military. It can be nursing, in support logistics.
So in Israel, girls fought for years, and there was a Supreme Court decision because girls wanted to have the opportunity to also be fighters, to also be in combat, to have equal opportunity, right? And about 20 years ago or more, there was a Supreme Court decision in Israel, and girls get the opportunity, and there are girls fighters today. They are not together with the same unit, and also I think when I was a teenager, there was the first girls fighting pilots. So now we have pilots in the army that are girls, and I think it's great. I think some girls can be better than guys. It's some. It's not doesn't mean that all of them.
Yeah. All right. So what other comments do we have that is worth noting, guys? Anything you guys want to ask myself and Zith? It's been an interesting conversation. I enjoyed it very much.
So I think you have a lot of your viewers are from Singapore?
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Okay. I think Singapore and Israel have a very good relationship, right?
Yes, we I think we do. We have
I think
most of the earlier batch of armor commanders were actually trained by Israelis.
There was cooperations that I've heard about. But maybe some of your followers want to jump onto my channel and give me a subscribe. That
Right,
would be
guys,
great.
yeah.
You can do it after. Yes.
Right.
My-
So
my
exactly.
cheap
So
plugin.
so for guys, Ziv Glikman here, he has a channel which is in the description of this video, and you can jump over to his channel and give him a like, give him a subscribe, and that'll be very nice.
Yeah. Is it in the description? It's
Yes,
not
yes,
on my
I've
not on
placed
mine one. Okay.
I've placed it in the description of my video.
Okay.
All right, guys. So I think if there's no other questions, we will wrap up this conversation of Straight Talk today. Again, I thank Ziv for the opportunity to have this discussion with him. Ziv, thank you so much. It was really refreshing and a bit of a throwback to back in the day when we were young and not so dangerous. But you were.
I would say I really enjoyed having a more than an hour long YouTube discussion without talking about China.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about China.
This is great, no? Don't have
Yeah,
to talk
definitely.
about China always,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So thank you for inviting me.
Right.
Yeah, and
Any
hopefully,
last words? Any last things you want to talk about before I put up the outro? And you guys can also
All right, maybe
stay on. I'll be showing you guys a short video, 1 minute video of Ziv's Here a magazine. You guys can check it out after that in the outro.
Maybe a good way to finish this, I would tell a short story.
Great.
Because my Israelis have to do a mandatory service, and my wife is American, my kids have American passports, and I didn't get Israeli passports for them. And when I was 25, already in China, when someone asked me, would you want your kids to go to the army? I said, yes, of course. I did it, But after my son was born, and nowadays I say, no way. Why should they go to the army? Better they don't. So I don't need to, if they have an American passport, they live abroad anyway, they don't have to go, right? If they choose to go, they can go. But this is just showing, I think, maturity level. The more mature you are, the more you understand violence is not good, and life is very precious. So anyway, thanks for watching.
All right, that's with that. Again, life is precious, guys. We have to make the most of the time given to us. And until the next time, let's enjoy this outro, and I'll see you guys in the next Straight Talk. Thank you so much, Ziv.
See you, Noel.